Hello, Exiles. This is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and welcome to another Path of Exile video. In today's video, I'm just going to go over my first impressions of Torchlight Infinite. It is a new action RPG, based on the Torchlight series, but made by new developers and kind of developed for mobile. So I was a little skeptical about it, but a lot of people have been talking about it. And I decided to give it a try as kind of a detox from POE because I was, burning out a little bit on POE. For those who want to know when I'll be coming out with POE content next, my plan is to play this for probably like 3 or 4 more days, and then I have 2 more builds that I'm going to do on trade, and then I might revisit my Immortal Jug because I have some new ideas for that based on some players that I've watched playing hardcore. And then I am going to do those other 2 builds and then move on to solo self-found and finish off the league in solo self-found because I just want to kind of have the league restart and have that freshness and also the challenge of doing things solo self-found. So that's currently the plan. So look out for another couple of builds starting later this week or maybe this weekend. But for now, I'm playing Torchlight Infinite. I just wanted to give my first impressions. I'm going to give some positives. I'll do like a compliment sandwich. So I'll start off with some positives, some simple positives. Then I'll go into my real gripes with this game. I do think it's worth playing, and overall I think it's a good game, but I have some big concerns, especially as like a build creator who just wanted to try the game free to play. And it is completely free to play viable, and all the characters everything you have access to free to play, which is, I should stress, most of the things, but not everything, but most of the things, are more than enough to get you through the end game. I beat like the end game pinnacle boss before you get to like the super end game, the juiced end game. And I'm level 94. So I played like 35 hours of this game or so, like 2 hours a day for the first couple of days. And then I started playing it a lot more. I got really into it. So that's one positive thing, is it is just a very fun game. Another really positive thing I can say is it's much more stable in the FPS department. I don't drop frames, I don't like lag or any of the problems that I have playing PoE because it's optimized for mobile. It is much more stable to play, and I'm playing a character that attacks like 30 times per second or something like that. So and even with that, I don't drop frames really. I stay above 50 FPS and usually right about 60 FPS. You might occasionally see when there's a ton of particles a little bit of a drop, but I don't go down to like 8 FPS when there's just like a lot of crazy stuff going on. I remember Mayhem League when I was recording and stuff, I would drop down to basically a slideshow. That's never happened with this game, and this is my first time recording it, so when I saw it drop down to 40 something, that's actually the first time I've seen it drop there, and that's probably just because of OBS. So that's very positive. It is very fun. There is a lot of customization and build diversity and a lot of different build options. To my knowledge, I'm the only person, like, you can look on the ladder at any time. The hero rankings are basically available, and to my knowledge, I'm the only person playing the build that I'm playing. At least that's currently high level. Like, you have the whole ladder here. You could kind of scroll down. I would be somewhere round about this area, like 2/3 up. There's starting to get to be a decent amount of level 100. So when I first started playing the game, I think there was only one level 100. So yeah, and then you can like kind of look at specific builds. Like there's 2 level 100s for my class, so I can go ahead and look at like their gear and their specs and all of that stuff. That stuff's really cool, and having access to that is really neat. So yeah, this guy went a completely different route than what I have, but yeah, there's lots of cool stuff like that. But I think I'm the only physical two-hander, like multi-strike stacking berserker that I've seen on the ladder, and I've looked through most of it. So I theory crafted my own build and built it as I went. It's really cool. There's lots of stuff, and like I said, I was able to get through all of the initial like 7 ranks of maps or whatever, and all of the different like kind of mini endgame bosses before whatever the Uber versions, which I haven't got onto yet. But yeah, it was a very fun experience, and there's a lot of stuff to do for that. Now is and oh, also there's a trade house where you can search for, like, this is an item that's very core to my build. So I could either, go to the trade house, regular trade house, and just look weapon, um, two-handed sword, and pick this sword up. And I ended up doing this and basically just buying one of the cheaper ones on the trade house. Or you can get even fancier with it. Go into the advanced thing here, two-handed, and basically I would pick that, put it as my base gear, go down here, say I only want one. I know it rolls up to 200% gear physical damage, so I pop this in, search for 195 or higher, and you could probably find ones on here that are crazy, because if you corrupt gear, even uniques, it can actually raise the tier. So now, like, this could roll up to, I believe, 300% gear physical damage, and you could get some really nutty. Like, if I got this, it would increase my damage by 24.3%. The DPS and survivability that's provided to you is there, but it's not a very good indicator. Like, this says I do 238,000 DPS, but if I go over here, there's a test dummy in town. If I go into here and actually, like, sit here and attack the dummy, it'll average my DPS over time. But as you can see, I do a lot more damage than that. I do somewhere around about over 20, over 20 million DPS. So that isn't a very good indicator. But usually the gear is a good, like, it'll still multiply your damage roughly by that amount, even if it isn't like a direct, kind of one-to-one type thing. So pretty interesting. Now onto the negatives. So you see all these little buttons. These are things you get with mobile. You get this little first top off bonus. So, like, if you were to buy something, it would give you little bonuses. When you first log in, it gives you a bunch of pop-ups that you have to click the little box and it to not show again today, and they'll be back tomorrow, so you'll have to click on them again. And basically they're for, like, these little like skins and stuff. Like, you'll get a pop-up for Lost Pearl, higher drop rates for season exclusive pack spirits or whatever. So this is like a boon, and you get pack spirits, which also affect your gameplay. I'm not going to go too much into those, but basically it's like a gacha system with its own mini skill tree, and you have a base one, and the base one's very good, mind you. It gives you, like, less damage taken, a more damage multiplier to attacks, quantity, like item quantity. The one you get without pack spirits is actually quite good, but you get more points to put into that tree by having pack spirits, and rare ones will give you points right away, and as you upgrade them, you'll be able to get more points overall. So you are at a distinct disadvantage, but you can technically do the gacha thing for free, which I'll show in a little bit. But one of the most irritating things, if these were all just skins, cosmetics, that would be one thing. This is the thing that bothers me. So I play the Berserker Rehan or whatever, Rehan, and that is the character I play. His base skill tree is called Anger. This is a secondary skill tree, or a secondary trait tree, I should say, called Seething Spirit. So basically, I should probably go over what traits are first. So basically, you have your traits, and the trait for the Berserker is you get Rage, and you get a bunch of bonuses for Rage, and you go into Berserk automatically when you get Rage. So you can see my little bar down here. This goes up as I attack, and then it goes back down when it reaches max, because I'm in Berserk, and it'll go down automatically and also based on my attacks. And I have stuff where I gain Rage on crit and that kind of thing. So in order to help sustain it and stay in Berserk form longer. But outside of the trait, you have these secondary things. So this is Rage, which gives me Burst, which is like a little damage thing that appears every once in a while when I hit things with Berserk, and later on, even when I'm not in Berserk, if I crit and stuff. But you have this another little customizable little skill tree here. um, and that's pretty cool and that's pretty neat. But the problem is, going back to this, this is an alternative trait tree. So this one is instead of rage stuff, it gives seething spirit, which basically is a completely different mechanic. It's this little guy who pops up and casts your main melee attack skill. So it's kind of like the savior or whatever, where you get the little guy that pops up and uses your attack, or ancestral cry or something like that. Similar idea to that, and you have a bunch of things that modify it throughout this skill tree. The only way I can have access to this until next season, you can buy the ones that were available previous seasons, would be to pay money. Like you have regular Primo Crysts here. You get Primo Crysts, and I would have to buy them. So it would cost somewhere in between, like I could buy, I don't know if you would continue to get the bonuses after your first one, but if I bought $10, I would be able to buy it and have some left over if that's the case. Otherwise, I'd have to pay $15 and I'd have some left over to get something else. But yeah, the big issue is that I wouldn't have access to that. And currently there are 2 of these, and not only that, so there's a battle pass, and it has more rewards if you unlock the golden season battle pass, which is pretty traditional for mobile games. My biggest problem, and I don't have a problem with that, I've played lots of mobile games, that's not an issue. There is a whole character locked behind the battle pass. You have to get the premium battle pass for $15 or $20 if you want to get like immediate progress towards your points to unlock this character. And this character would actually be really interesting to do a similar archetype to what I'm doing now, because it actually scales multi-strike. And because I use Leap Slam to get everywhere and I Leap Slam very quickly, I move around a lot, and I would be able to proc Cat's Agility, which is her ability. But the only problem is I literally cannot get this character without paying. And as a build creator, but I can drop like gear that is kind of specific. So on your trait thing here, one of the new features are these hero relics and hero memories. See hero specialization anger. There are also these. I think I kept one in my stash just to demonstrate. Where is it? Here it is, Sullen Spirit. Hero specialization, Seething Silhouette. So I can still drop these, but I can't use it. It's a character that I can't use without paying. So I can still drop this. I could get really good ones. Like this one isn't good. I just wanted to keep it as an example. It's just like a tier 3 and a tier 4 roll. But if I dropped a Sullen Spirit with 2 tier 1 rolls, and they're like really good build enabling things, I would not be able to use it. I'd have to sell it on the trade house. Even if I thought of a really cool build, I wouldn't be able to make it happen. So that's kind of irritating, but and then you have these packed spirits, which I will basically, they have like, this one has gives me like a bunch of attack damage and double damage and multi-strike. The base stuff you get isn't that bad. Like you get mana regen here, you get less damage taken, and like, yeah, the base tree you get isn't bad at all. Like you get quantity, more damage dealt, just a bunch of like damage and utility stuff. But these, like I said, they also, if I go to them, upgrade reward pack point +1. Sorry about the train. Kind of weird. But yeah, they, as you upgrade them, they get additional pack points, and you only upgrade them by getting more of them. Let's see if I have an example, because I did do some pulls on this. Yeah, so I have a level 3 one. So as you can see, I have Outer Ring gains bonus affixes and pack point +1. If I got another copy of this Luluri Amethyst, I would get an additional packed point on top of that. And the rare ones already start with an additional packed point unlocked, just as kind of like a baseline. So yeah, it's a little little bit unfortunate that there are a couple of aspects that are not necessarily pay to win, because you can do all the content in the game, um, without having to pay anything, and there are still a lot of builds that you can explore without having to pay anything. But I do feel limited by having some of that stuff gated behind payment, so that's kind of annoying. Let's go into the endgame system. So once you beat the campaign, which first time through took me like probably around 8 hours, so pretty similar to what POE would be. However, there isn't like there's 5 chapters currently, but the 5th one is basically just a placeholder, and it's basically you just run through all the same zones, but they're modeled after maps. But yeah, you have these different time marks, which are basically maps, and all the different zones. I think there are like 5 or 6 different zones, and they're all kind of associated with a different damage type and have a peak boss when you beat so many of them. And for each one, the monster level goes up, the amount of monsters in the maps go up, and like the requirements to get into them goes up. It keeps making a shinking sound. You also unlock these different cards as you play through. I don't have this one set up very well because I haven't played Blistering Sea in a while, but like let's go over to this one. So this one I have set up to like get me a bunch of currency. The flame fuel is basically the currency that you use to trade, and then like a bunch of quantity, and like this one makes it so that 6 affix rare gear has a chance to become flame fuel, and this one gives a chance for rare monsters to drop 2. And then I also have it set up to do like one of the kind of side content pieces, which is called God of Machines. There's like God of War, God of the Hunt, and God of the Machines. Yeah, it's got to make a loud noise every time I'm in a menu, huh? But yeah, you can basically set them up. They have inheritance, which means they'll persist through multiple things. And every 5 of them, 5 chaos invasion attempts, it'll cycle through and deal new cards and get rid of the previous ones. So let's say I wanted to do a new run, and I wanted like the quantity, I would pick that first, and then maybe I'd pick this one to give flame fuel, or maybe I'd pick one of the the machine ones like this one, and then I'd pick this one as my 3rd map since it has inheritance 3. Would persist through that, and there's they give all sorts of bonuses. This one just gives generic quantity and rarity to all of my maps. As well as that, you have like compasses, which are basically like a combination of scarabs and that kind of thing. Let's see, like this one would give number of items dropped in God of Might plus 50%. But the monsters gain giantism, which just makes them bigger and harder to kill. And then 23 offset degrees, which basically each offset degree increases monster damage by 0.3% and lowers monster damage taken by 1%. So this would mean monsters take 23% less damage and deal, a bit more damage type thing if I were to put that in. And you can put up to 4 of these in, and they do all sorts of good things, and they're usually worth, like this one's worth 4 flame elementium, so it's actually worth a pretty considerable amount. Can I even trade these? Oh, you can trade these. Interesting. But yeah, you can also price check everything from your inventory, so that's positive too. Like some of this stuff I would never know is worth a lot, just naturally. Like the one of these, the fluorescent memories, which is basically like a divination card, I just happened to be clicking through and found out it was worth a lot, and I needed more money to buy my weapon for my character, so I sold that and was able to purchase that. This is the main currency. It's flame elementium. It's also used in crafting, so it's similar to Path of Exile in that regard. You just go down here to your little dude. Enchanting's basically bench crafting. And then, oh man, he's going to say that every time, huh? Yep. But the way crafting works is it's pretty deterministic. It costs less per per affix basically. So if you have a white item and you're putting it in, it's going to cost very little. Like it's going to cost the lowest ember item basically, flame sand or whatever. No, maybe the one before that. But yeah, it's going to be cheaper. And then as you get more of them on, it costs more. So basically, you can kind of be more picky and craft like your really high tier stuff. Like, let's use for an example, I've crafted pretty much all of my gear here. So something that's essential for my character, let's say I really need erosion resistance. That was my number one priority. I would craft that first, make sure I have that on there, and it would be the cheapest. So I could basically functionally guarantee that I would get that, and then I would continue to craft more and more on. But yeah, that's pretty much my review. I guess I'll show an example of what like the character looks like playing through. Was I working on any of these? I don't know if I was actually doing any of these. I might have been. Yeah, I might have this set up. Yeah, God of Machines. So I'll just do a quick little kind of map to show where it is. I'm not going to throw anything fancy on there or whatever. Yeah, I'll go for a little bit higher quantity and rarity. I'm not going to throw any compasses or anything. And just kind of show what my character looks like. Yeah, I don't have this on full screen mode. But I'm not going to go too much into the build. If you are interested in Torchlight builds, let me know. If you play this or are kind of on the fence on it, yeah, just let me know. So there you go. Got one of the rare emblems. But yeah, basically my character just slams around and attacks really fast. And I actually attack and do more damage the more I stand still. So anything that I'm required to actually like stand still and ramp on, which isn't going to be much stuff here, I actually end up doing more damage and it kind of have a ramping play style, which is pretty neat. But yeah, it's most of the trash mobs, I mean, the bosses are definitely where the difficulty in this game is. Most of the trash mobs are not difficult, even with a lot of different things on. Like, I have more monster life, minus my attack and cast speed, which actually lowers my attack speed by double. So basically, minus 32 attack speed. Life regain, monster evasion, minus physical damage taken, and minus radius on my skills, and I am using a radius. So I have a bunch of like super negative effects, and like the trash mobs are never going to be much of a threat or take much to kill, basically. Now, granted, if you don't have, a lot of damage, that's going to vary, but once you have kind of a fully realized build, or at least a mostly fully realized, there's still a lot I could do on this build. And I don't know if I will, because I have another character that I really want to try. I also take less damage when I'm standing still and have a defensive one. So that was a boss. I did more, and the league content here is basically like you build your own treasure box type thing. This is a brand new one. So I won't be able to show more, but basically you fight these pirates. They're very easy. But then you have like a boss to fight every 6 maps, which does a treasure chest, which is based on some options that you pick type thing. So right now, there, chance for gear to become flame fuel. I basically choose everything flame fuel basically at the moment, because I don't really have any other goals but to get more of that, so I can buy some of the really high-end stuff that I want to finish off my build type thing. So or try to farm it myself. But that's pretty much how it looks. A lot of the maps are very small. There are bigger ones, and map density varies very heavily compared to Path of Exile, where it's more centralized. Like Path of Exile on your standard like Elk and Go map, you might see any variance between like 2 and 4 or 500 monsters in a map. In this, it's like the lower end maps have like 100 monsters, and the higher end ones have like 700 or 800 monsters. So it's really like an insane difference in map layout. So that's kind of weird too. But all in all, it's pretty fun. The map boss or the bosses at the end are kind of they have their patterns are shown ahead of time. Like they have the little indicators that show on the ground that you can dodge out of the way. So they're very easy fights to learn compared to POE ones. And I would overall recommend this as a kind of like palate cleanser, especially considering it's free to play, unlike like Last Epoch and everything and Grim Dawn. So you can just pick it up, start playing. You don't have to worry about it, and just play through the campaign and maps once. It's fun. It's like an easy like kind of week away to get a fully realized character, and then you can go back to PoE happy and missing all of the complexity and fun that PoE has that maybe other ARPGs, even pretty good ones, might not have for a while. So this has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming. This has been kind of my review of Torchlight, and I will see you next time. Bye.